Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to talk to you about 151 and what the top 8 competitive decks are. Now, 151 didn't shake up the meta as much as we want to it, didn't introduce any new archetypes, but some of our current existing archetypes really propelled in their positions. Some became much stronger, and some didn't gain that many cards, but definitely a bit more weaker as well. So today I'm going to break down exactly how the positions and the results over in Japan has really impacted my thinking about where they are placed over in our sort of format, both matchup-wise and list as well, for how the 151 has really shaped up their meta. Obviously, it's being released. We've got a couple of regionals in a couple of weeks' time in this sort of format. So let's dive into exactly what I think are the top 8 picks. Now, my number 8 pick is Chien-Pao. I feel like Chien-Pao is going to be in most of the lists. It's either going to be number 8 or higher because I absolutely adore this deck and it's still incredibly strong. It did pretty okay in the Champions League, although it was the Palkia version, more where you play more Palkia, and the Chien-Pao is kind of like that support element by that Capacious Bucket by using that Shivery Chill ability, but it's still very much a consideration. It's an incredibly strong archetype over in Japan as well. As we covered a couple of days ago, its meta share is in that top 3% by being 10%, which is still very, very strong, and Chien-Pao is definitely a force to be reckoned with. Matchup-wise, however, it's a different story. It really struggled in the likes of these Lost Box archetypes and really had that good positive match against Mew, and even I would say Gardevior was a little bit closer. But these real fast-paced decks like Lost Box, like Miraidon, like Tina near the endgame can really struggle with Chien-Pao by having that real cap damage count, what Chien-Pao can do under likes of Path to Peak. Loads of these archetypes are playing Path to Peak or are scared about Path to Peak and playing constant ways out of it. So Chien-Pao can really go in that and struggle with that sort of archetypes as well. I think the list that I'm going more to build right now is more of the Palkia build as well. Skater's Park is really strong. If you haven't checked them, Jared Grimes, which has done incredible, absolutely love Chien-Pao as well. I might leave a link to his script, the latest video in the description, which talks about the real importance of how good Skater's Park is. It's really, really powerful, especially in this dark deck as well. Having Chien-Pao, you attach these 2 engines with the Excalibur, retreat, add those to hand, get the Noah, Chien-Pao in there, search your deck, attach another 2 more energies. So you've also, instead of losing 2 energies, you gain those 2 energies back as well. Palkia is also really good in the likes of people try and target on your back Excalibur, having that origin from Palkia as well. If they go for the back Excalibur, you don't get to attach any energies from your hand. But if you still have an origin from Palkia V-Star, you can use their ability to use that Star Portal, kind of like flood the board with another additional 3 energies plus the attachment to pretty much help you in that matchup as well. I like having an end retrieval and a super rod as well as a superior end retrieval. Multiple ways to kind of recover your energies, which is really key for Chien-Pao. Bibarel is definitely much stronger, as well as also you kind of sacrificing a tiny bit of your supporters by paying less counts of Boss's Orders and Iono to really help out some tech spaces like canceling clone and end retrieval. I think Chien-Pao is definitely going to improve a bit. You could even add the Mew EX into Chien-Pao, but right now, this is my list. I'm definitely going to be figuring around tinkering some of the options as well, but Chien-Pao is still very, very strong. Another deck which is very strong is Rapid Strike Box. The huge amount of strength that this VMAX deck has to offer is insane. Intellion VMAX with that double gunner ability, sniping some things, doing 140 damage as well is very, very strong. And obviously Rapid Strike Urshifu as well with that Rapid Strike for Gmax Rapid Flow to do 120 damage to one of your opponents and do your opponent's bench Pokemon. Very, very powerful, really good bench synergy in the style deck here. Did very well obviously in Champions League, but the meta share only about 2%. As you know, in our meta, Rapid Strike Box is incredibly good as well. Matchup-wise, it's definitely really struggles like some Mew and Lugia. Lugia is very difficult for you to kind of like get those big one-hit KOs on it, and Mew obviously you're kind of like focusing purely on just Intellion VMAXs, which can really struggle in that sort of matchup as well. Rest of the board state is very, very even, which I generally think is a very good thing for Rapid Strike Box here. It didn't gain any new cards, but I would say the list here is very, very strong as well. This list is very, very powerful. Obviously, the Iridas and Ionis is super, super good. The Medicham V combo with the likes of Radiant Alakazam really helps in the matchup by potentially taking an extra prize card, which is really, really key in this sort of matchup. Getting rid of that mana fee, they could use that Gmax Rapid Flow at the turn after, potentially taking 3 to even 4 prizes, which is super, super good. Obviously, your Mew matchup is really weak, so you've got to play that Spiritomb. So it's a deck which only plays Spiritomb right now, so Mew's potentially going to better shot by being the DTE, but then they focus more on the ability lock, which can really slow down this deck even further. So definitely still not sleep on this deck. It's still doing incredibly well in our meta. Mew VMAX, however, is doing very, very good and getting a really good and unique card. Didn't get the finish it needed in Champions League, which is very, very surprising for over there in Japan, but the meta share is still very, very strong. The Future Strike build is definitely the strongest build right now in the meta. I think DTE build definitely could really take its place coming very, very soon. But if you look at the matchup board overall, it's either very even or just a little bit under. The build I've gone to is playing that Snap Charm, Grabber, whatever I believe the translation might be called in the end. But that Snap Charm is incredibly good. Just looking at your opponent's hand and then choosing one of their Pokemon and putting it at the bottom of the deck. I love putting it at the bottom of the decks with Archetype. If it was shuffle, it kind of means that potentially they could like top deck that card. By putting it at the bottom, there's no way they can get that unless they play the likes of a Level Ball, Ultra Ball, Nest Ball, multiple ways to try and get it. But also what's really good, it gives that Mew that hand knowledge that it really craves and desires. It does, can I play Path to Peak? Can I Iono? Can I judge? Will this impact my opponent at all? Just looking at your opponent's hand and kind of going, okay, so they have a bump to Path to Peak. The hand is really strong, so I'm going to Iono them. Or, oh, they don't have anything in there which really stop my Path to Peak unless they top deck something. I'm going to play Path to Peak to really slow them down. I think Grabber is definitely, Snatch Arm is much stronger in the DTE build, which potentially could be going with it, as we're seeing a lot less Ting Lu and the likes of Spiritomb, so potentially that could be a way around it, saying goodbye to Fusion build again. But right now, I think it's definitely a lot stronger. Meloetta's capability to donk as early as turn 1 is really good. Snatch Charm that came in that hand knowledge as well. I think it's a very, very good position Mew VMAX is right now. Another deck which has surprised everyone by doing really well is Miraidon. And obviously won and got top 8 over there in Yokohama Champions League, but also in Pittsburgh it came second and in top 8 as well on the same weekend. Metashare as well, one of the strongest higher placed decks for being 9%. The amazing Tandem unit to flood your board with multiple lightning basic Pokemon, and also that Photo Blast to do that easy good one-hit KO on nearly most of the opponent's board state. Matchup wise, very, very powerful. It does struggle with the likes of Rapid Strike Box, which makes sense. Urshifu can one-hit KO you. It's difficult to one-hit KO them unless you play a huge amount of likes of your Raichu. But you also can they also can target your bench. You're not playing Manaphy. Lost boxes can be really struggling as well with Datina kind of getting one-hit KOs. Again, about 5 to 6 energies to get the KO back on them. But we do play a few sneaky cards as well in this Miraidon, which can really help sway that matchup to be a bit better. This is in fact the winning list of it happening over in Yokohama, and does play some really good unique tech cards. Zapdos EX from 151 is really, really powerful. Having a free retreat if you've got an engine attached to it, doing 120 damage to the active is really strong for 3 lightning, and additional 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on them. That means we are playing the likes of Hawlucha in there with that fine entry by damaging 2 of your opponent's opponent's benched Pokemon. Now, both this may be really powerful by doing potentially 120 and then 100 damage snipe. It's very, very good, but Manaphy is a huge prevalence right now in the meta. By obviously Radiant Greninja is really, really strong. And by playing these 2 cards, you're sacrificing 2 slots. If you want to get it out as early as turn 1, if you're going second and you want to draw for your deck, if you attack a Squawkabilly, you potentially sacrifice 3 slots of your bench. So now suddenly you're locked with like your Miraidon on the active spot, and then maybe like a Mareep, another Raikou on the bench. Definitely it's a bit of a struggle in that way here. Clap Stadium possibly does help in those sort of answer-wise. In fact, Clap Stadium might removing that threat, and then you can obviously get rid of it in the late game when your opponent, or you can later on with Path to Peak. But you also do play that Mew EX. The first time I'm going to mention Mew EX, definitely not the last, with that restart ability, drawing until you have 3 cards in hand, really good Iona proof, and obviously that GNM hack. Those 3 colors energies attacking and copying one of your opponent's active Pokemon. Instantly, there are things that come to mind, likes of Charizard, Giratina V-Star, and Radiant and Greninja. Really good, strong attacks that Mew EX can really copy, and there's obviously other ones as well. Can even copy likes of Raikou V or Miraidon EXs on your opponent's side of the field. Very, very strong here. Obviously, you do play a bit of a lesser amount of lightning energy, but I still love having the 2 Forest Seal Stone. It's definitely a must. And obviously, I'm a huge fan of Raihan and Arven. So playing that in this deck here, I think Miraidon is definitely a really good pick. I think it has really good matchup-wise overall. I think it's always only just going to get stronger with likes of Paradox Rift. So I'm really happy to see that we are finally in a place where Miraidon EX might finally be better than Chien-Pao, which is obviously, for me, very sad to think about. Now, my number 4 pick is in fact Lost Zone Box. Now, it didn't actually have a good showing over in Japan, but again, only like a top 32 or top 64 spot. That is only because it is a very much more less played over there in Japan. By being only 3%, making sure that it's definitely a much more weaker sort of representation on it. Definitely comparing to where we are, where it's definitely going to be like that 10% miraging, pretty much always the case. Matchup-wise, obviously very, very strong, or very, very even-wise overall. Definitely with worse matchups like the Rapid Strike Box and Lugia, but having these huge Pokemon. Obviously, you can get the KO with like Raikou on the Lugias and Chien VMAXs, but having multiple ways to get some damage output on the bench, and Lugia kind of going towards the more single prize Pokemon way, it can really struggle in those style of matchups as well here. Now, build, I've gone with the build. It's definitely the character build, which is very similar to Andrew Estrada's list, which won over in Pittsburgh. But I added this one copy of Ditto, the new Ditto card, which is really, really strong, where you can only use it on your first turn of the game, and only if it's in the active spot. You may discard it and search your deck for a basic Pokemon and swap it with this one. Now, this is good because it's like your 5th Comfey, or if you start with it's like a Sableye or a Cramorant to get that attack off, or that Radiant Greninja, or even that Raikou or Dragonite to get that extra sort of damage counter, or drawing those cards. I think it's a really strong archetype in the style deck here. I think it really adds to Lost Zone decks. It's not played as much more common over Japan, but I thought it's really good inclusion to really talk to you about how Ditto can really help you in those style decks. Now, another one I want to talk to you about is Colorless Lugia. And that's just, for me, this might be the turning point where I actually like, hey, I actually don't mind Lugia. It did incredibly well over in Japan by getting 2nd place, top 8, top 16, and it's about 10% of the meta most weeks. It's incredibly good because not only does it have that amazing summoning star ability to get some 2 of your Archeops out there to flood the board, but you can really utilize the other single prize Pokemon. Having the likes of Snorlax as well to do 180 damage is super, super good. Obviously, it's asleep, but it's not affected by Sableye stuff, which is really, really good. You also have the likes of Weirdeer, Mew VMAX as well, to really abuse that sort of factor by drawing lots more cards and also doing a huge amount of damage as well. Look at the matchup wise, it's very, very positive. Power obviously like Miraidon, which makes so much sense because you're lightning weak and they're very, very quick and aggressive, and they're constantly getting that threatening that attack if they go second. But if we look at this here, it's very similar to the top 8 list, and one that I kind of like thought about played as well. This is the build which, if I was going with it, I would definitely be playing. I think Luxray is still very, very good. The addition is pop it down, attach reversal energy. If you're behind, do 180 damage. It's really, really good. Mew VMAX, like I mentioned earlier, that restart ability, that genome hack is super, super good and so easy to add in the likes of Lugia V-Star. Weirdeer V, I think, is a much more better deck in this sort of deck here. By if you move it from the bench to the active spot, attach all the energies, as many energies like from your bench to Weirdeer V. So you get that big one-hit KO on the likes of Giratina's, likes of Lugia, yeah, even Lugia's and like sort of a Mew VMAX and Gardevior. Obviously, Drapion V as well to help in that Lugia and that Mew matchup and Gardevior. There's so many really good cards as well here. Obviously, a bit less on the sport account, sported the stadium account for my list, unfortunately. Pure on the space sort of wise here. 1 collapse, 2 Metagoza, but you do play the Pumpkaboo to really help get rid of that path to peak. I think this list here is really, really strong here. Be prepared that this could be the way how we're going to see Lugia V-Star really evolve and adapt. I'm really excited to see how we're going to kind of evolve away from the single strike. Yes, single strike is still very, very strong, but I think the colorless build right now is much stronger. It's not more able to use the tech options and can really help in those really tricky matchups. Now, going to my number 2 spot, it is Gardevoir EX. Did incredibly well in the Champions League by getting top 4, top 8, 2 top 16, and right now it was the top archetype over the past weekend for being 12% of the meta. So Gardevoir is really good at Psychic Embrace ability by attaching as many basic Psychic energies to your Psychic Pokemon in play, but on the counter you have to put 2 damage counters on there. It's super, super strong. Having that Gardevoir, Shiner Kana Gardevoir, Zacian V, doing a huge big one-hit KO capability of Gardevoir is super, super good. Just look at the matchup wise. It is so even across the board. It's one of the best ways there is. Lost Box obviously a much more of a tricky one. They can go single prize attackers, and you always have to have a 2 price out just to help in that matchup wise. So that always could kind of like get that one up on you. If Gardevoir becomes much more popular, Drapion V will kind of like slowly fit back in. Likes of Lost Box decks here, but definitely something that Gardevoir can always be evolving around here. This list here is very similar to the like of the top 8 list as well by playing the Mew EX. I love Mew EX in this style deck here, and definitely one of the really unique ways to approach it in this one meta as well. It fits in so nicely with Gardevoir because it's easy to power up as well. I think it works really, really well to kind of help in getting those big one-hit KOs on Radiant Greninja. The big discussion right now is like, should Gardevoir be playing Radiant Greninja? Because if they're someone gets rid of Manaphy and they use their Mew to copy your own Radiant Greninja and getting 2 prizes, that's a bit of a trouble situation. But Mew EX can do that, so it's really nice to have it able to use that Radiant Greninja against your opponent's side of the field, and it can really be a big surprise factor because you can search for it with Ultra Ball, search for it through Fog Crystal, so many ways to kind of get it and not really show it to your opponent until it's too late for them. I think it's a really, really powerful thing. The only thing which I struggle with are the stadium cards as well, but I think these are the best ones to go around it. Arsene to get any of our Pokemon around here, Clapstone to get rid of that very heavily damaged 2-price Pokemon, and Temple of Sinnoh because I believe Lugia is going to be much stronger right now, and getting rid of the likes of Jet Energy and the Lost Box or decks as well is really, really strong. I still think the Mirage Step Curlier is the way to play Gardevoir. I think after Tord's real good, impressive showing in second place, I just think having that Mirage Step Curlier, with just copying them where they are over in Japan, and it's just super, super strong. Even if you go first in your second turn of a game, if you get that Mirage Step Curlier off and flood your board with all your other Curliers, it's just super, super good. I think Gardevoir is by far one of the best decks right now in the format. The only one that just beats it is Lost Tina. Yes, the best deck right now in the format, and constantly is going to be there. It did fall down a little bit to that 10% bracket right now the past weekend, but still number 4 overall. But then again, they're fighting the likes of Jirachi over there. But the Champions League, it did get 2 top 16 places. The best placing Lost in Archetype as well. And just look at the matchup wise as well. Its worst matchup according to Limitless is at Lugia and Lost Box. Lost Box does make a lot of sense. They can go single prize attacking options for you. You might have to go to that 2 prize in the likes of Giratina just to help in that style matchup as well. It's just so even over the board. That Lost Impact doing 120 damage is just super, super good. Getting an instant one to KO on anything. Sarat is a guaranteed KO on anything. You have Cramorant, you have Sableye, you have Greninja. So many really good archetypes as well. So many tools in your arsenal to really help in that sort of matchup as well. I really like playing the Cleansing Gloves in this list because that Lost Impact can instantly get the KO on the likes of Mew and obviously the likes of Gardevoir EX as well. The reason I like that because you don't rely too much on Sableye's damage as well, because Mew can instantly just go back into it by copying Mew VMAX's attack. This list does in fact play the Ditto as well. I think the Ditto is really good. You can instantly search out a Battle VIP path. You're doing multiple switching outs as well. So kind of having that Ditto can really help you be that 5th Comfey, that 2nd Cramorant, that legal 2nd and Radiant Greninja, which would work. I still really love Pokegear in this list as well. By kind of getting that Colorless if you're going 2nd is super, super good. Try and dig for that Colorless, exactly why I really love this in this deck here. I do play a little bit less on the switching cards by only playing 2 escape routes and 2 switch cards, which is the only the problematic card in this sort of list as well. That's definitely something which could be changed about it, but I just absolutely love Pokegear in this list here. I think it's incredibly powerful as well. I think Ditto really adds it to Giratina V-Star. Potentially could be one of the best ways to play Giratina right now. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what deck are you really excited to try on 151. I do obviously I'm going to be talking about some of the other fun decks in 151, like some Blastoise, like some Hisuian Zoro, which I'll be covering over in a couple of days' time. So unfortunately, these might be your fun rogue decks, which could do some deep runs in cups, but right now, I think these are the top archetypes right now. We'll obviously see a huge amount of success in Charizard, but I don't think Charizard is as strong right now in the meta going forward, but that could obviously completely change when Peoria happens in a couple of weekends' time, and I'm completely eating my words up by Charizard winning or getting another top 8 placement. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back in a couple of days for another video. Bye for now.